Major support for these broadcasts is provided by New York Community Bank, Chase Commercial Term Lending, Chelsea Lighting, Capital One Bank, Perfect Building Maintenance, Genova Burns, Giantomasi and Webster, Kilroy Architectural Windows, New York's Window Company, the Wyckoff Group, Greenberg Traurig, LLP, M&T Bank. Additional support is provided by Ackman Ziff Real Estate Group, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Briarwood Organization, Bruce Mosler, C.B. Richard Ellis, Colliers International New York, LLC, Cushman and Wakefield, Dime Savings Bank of Williamsburg, Douglaston Development, Levine Builders, DDG Partners, Friedman LLP, Accountants and Advisors, Flushing Bank, Investors Bank, James D. Kuhn Real Estate Center at Syracuse University, James Orphanides, Centurion Holdings, John Katsimatidis, Red Apple Group, Madison Realty Capital, Margolin Weiner and Evans, LLP, Certified Public Accountants and Business Advisors, Massey Knackle Realty Services, New Banks, Meridian Capital Group, Newmark Knight Frank, Sterling and Sterling, SJP Properties, Stonehenge Partners, and These Friends.
So it's the hospitality industry. It's on fire. It continues to be on fire, even though we've had, 15,000 new rooms over the last 6 or 7 years?
Thereabouts, and another 15 coming.
And another 15 coming in. So in order to talk about the hospitality business, you have to bring people in the business. And you have to bring the guy who's financing that thing. So today I've assembled this interesting group of individuals to talk about the hospitality business in New York City. My guests today include Brennan Keating, who is a vice president and team leader at M&T Bank. Hank Freid, who is the president and CEO at Impulsive Group. Ian Simpson Reisner, who is the president and founder of the OUT NYC. And last but definitely not least, Vijay Dandapani, who's the president of Apple Core Hotels. So I have two guys who've been in the business a long time. I'm not saying you're old, but who've been in the business longer. So, and then I have the new kid on the block, my friend Ian, who has a hotel, a cabaret, and a restaurant over there. And then I have the banker. How do you see in all the years, and I'm going to ask Hank first and then you, how do you see the hospitality market today as compared to the many years that you've been in the business?
I see it thriving today. It really, really is thriving. I think that New York City is sort of a country within itself. You really can't compare New York City to the rest of the country.
When we talk about, now you have hotels in New York City, in Manhattan.
Yes.
You have hotels in Manhattan. You have a hotel in Manhattan. There's more than one borough in New York City. Is Manhattan thriving, or is all New York City thriving?
I think that everywhere is thriving right now. Whether that's going to be an ongoing thing or not is a different story. But right now, everybody is pretty much happy, and everybody's doing very good occupancy.
Well, I mean, I was going to allude to that. What's changed, you mentioned that point, I think, is that previously there was a concentration of hotels in the Midtown area. I think it changed in the 90s when people started developing downtown and then uptown. And uptown, I mean really uptown, going up in the 80s. We all remember Bernie Goldberg and how he did the Franklin way uptown. So that's, and now it's gone west and east. We know about Inc. 48. We know about hotels like the Bentley right on the East River. and now the Aloft in Harlem. Again, I'm limiting myself to Manhattan because that's what I know really well. But anecdotally, certainly Brooklyn has done very well. And Long Island City has more hotels than what used to be a bastion for car repair shops. Now there are way more hotels than garages over there. So that's how it's changed. And I certainly echo Hank's point that it's thriving. Certainly has thrived in the last year and a half after the Great Recession. And as far as we can see, and the horizon keeps
But
short.
you did bring up when I was doing the statistics, saying that there have been 15,000, maybe 18,000 rooms added over the last 6 to 8 years, and there's another 15,000 on the horizon. We did have close to 51 million visitors last year. We'll probably reach that number this year or close, and it's on to the 55 million visitors. As a banker, since you finance, that's the majority of your business at M&T Bank, how does the bank look at all the new rooms? Because you have to say, I got the other ones, and this is an operating business. This is each and every day he has to fill a new person to move in there.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's how we look at hotels as an operating business. We actually don't even have our hotel piece of the business sitting in our real estate group. It actually sits in our middle market box, or bucket, because we look at the sponsorship and the ownership of that hotel and their ability to be able to fill those rooms and release them, like you said, on a nightly basis. And I think you guys were talking a bit about, too, how that hotel industry has changed. I think one of the things that, like you had said, Vijay, where people have been expanding out into other parts of the city that maybe they previously had been wary to go to. I think people have gotten more comfortable going into some of those further east, further west, Lower East Side.
As Hank was saying prior to the show, Williamsburg has done well. I mean, you have the Wife, and then you have the King and Grove. So they've had 2 hotels. No one would have expected a hotel in Williamsburg, but the residential has filtered. And on a show recently, people said if you have residential, people will move there. More people will go into the attribution. But I mean, I think some of the hotels, like we just said about Vijay, I mean, Long Island City doesn't have that residential hype or that feeling that Williamsburg has.
It doesn't have the drivers, too. I mean, there's going to be a lot of the overflow businesses going into Long Island City. So we were talking about all these new rooms that are coming online. At least from what we've seen from the portfolio that we manage, the new supply that has come online has been easily absorbed into the market. I think if there is, or when there is, some correction to that with some of the new rooms coming online, I think that areas that will feel the pinch the first and the most.
So here's a question for Hank and for Ian, because Ian, Ian's the new kid in the block. These guys have been around in the business. Ian opened up last March, the OUT, which is a gay and lesbian friendly hotel, or as he was saying just prior to the show, an experience, okay? It's a hotel, it's a cabaret, it's a nightclub, and it's more than that. How would you categorize your hotels? As a boutique limited service or a 4-star? And then I'm going to ask you the question.
I actually run the entire gamut. I'm all the way from a 2-star to a 4.5 star. When I go and develop a property, I develop it according to the area where it is. So it may not call for a 4.5 star.
So where is the 2-star, the 2.5 star?
The 2.5 stars on the Upper West Side near Columbia. So I've got one 2.5 star. I've got one 3-star up there. The one that I've done on 47th, the Sanctuary, is a 4.5 star. We try to, and the main thing that we sort of cultivate there is service more than anything else. I travel to Europe a lot, and I see how the hotels deal with the guests there versus how the Americans deal with the guests. There's a big, big difference. And so I try to bring that culture into the Sanctuary.
And what would you say in your hotels?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure I'd star rate them, but yeah,
I'm not star. I mean,
they're boutique limited service, basically.
Boutique limited service.
Yeah, I mean, we have a bar, rooftop bars, and things like that, and we have,
But you bring up that. I joke about this. How many rooftop bars can we have on 33rd, 34th, 35th, 36th Street?
I think more, because we're doing 2 more, and these bars are full.
I know.
And this has nothing to do
And
with-
I did a show a couple weeks ago with David Sterner from Murray Hill Properties,
Right.
and right on the corner at 1250 Broadway on the 34th floor, they built this rooftop restaurant.
Sure.
You know, and 7,000 square feet,
Right.
in the heart of Little Korea.
I mean, this is more than about the hotel tourists that you had alluded to, the 50 million, no, not quite 51. These are locals who are coming there. Many of these are local office goers who want to come there and have, you know, and they span the gamut. I mean, his Sanctuary Bar, I've seen it, it's just fantastic.
It's exactly how it happens.
Yeah.
You know, people just like going to that atmosphere of being up there and above everything and being able to look around and things. So it's definitely a draw. There's no question about
You know,
it.
I had Eric Garau on my show, and, you know, they had this roof, and, you know, what's his name? He passed on, you know, who was the visionary on 235th Avenue, because most of the tenants left the building early, or it didn't matter, and that's how 235th Avenue evolved, basically, you know, at the top of the roof, and the volume that they do there for restaurant and the food. So how was the first, not the baby months of, you know?
Well, let's first correct you. I didn't open a gay-friendly hotel. I opened a gay-owned and operated and oriented and culturally programmed gay hotel, but we're officially straight-friendly. And surprisingly, a third of my sleeping guests since we opened are straight. But I opened a lot more than a hotel. I opened something, they talk about the bar business. We opened the largest nightclub in New York, a cabaret club where we have all kinds of performances, gay and straight, women and men, dancers and singers.
So my question, which Hank and we asked you before, can New York City have another gay and friendly experience? Because when you and I spoke about this over the past 4 or 5 years, you said to me that the W Hotel always was gearing a little bit more to gay and lesbian friendly hotels as opposed to certain other hotels. That people had that perception.
Yeah. There are many chains of hotels that appeal to the gay consumer. I think the Standard would be a great example. Kimpton has a very quiet, secretive marketing program for gay people, and the W as well. But the difference between what we've created is we haven't created a hotel. You won't find the word hotel anywhere in my literature. We're an urban resort. We have a 5,000 square foot spa. We have 3 huge outdoor atriums. We have waterfalls and hot tubs and community spaces. We have conference rooms. We have a wedding space where we've done big weddings and things like that. We have a cafe, and we have a restaurant, and we have a nightclub. Then we have art, and we have artists, and we have 12 fashion shows for Fashion Week. And we have installations every week, and we have book signings, and we have a private outhouse social club, which no one knows about. It's a little private bar on the 2nd floor. And this kind of cultural institution that I've created for gay people and their friends too is not something that anybody in this room, as far as I'm concerned, can simply replicate.
But you know what?
And I don't think there's a need for another cultural institution.
Why not?
Well, I don't know about necessarily a cultural institution. I think there is something that sort of attracts people to certain hotels. And I feel that you're the only one that's really out there presenting this kind of concept. So I feel that, you know, there's always room for more.
And I think what Hank is saying, you know, I think this is the specific with the 5-star hotels or the 5.5-star hotels. New York City, I mean, we are talking that there is a very good chance that the Four Seasons Hotel is going to be sold for $2.4 million a key. $2.4 million a key, which, I mean, the highest price before was maybe 1.4, and that was during the highest day of the heights of the world.
The Mandarin?
In New York, the Mandarin. So we're talking $2.4 million a key, which I know you would never finance because Peter and the boys would kill you. And they'd say you better find
it would just be very low loan to cost.
No, and you know, right, low loan to cost. Okay, so we're talking about, you know, there are only a couple 5.5 star. That's why the Hyatt, the new Hyatt that's opening up in 1 East 57th Street, West 57th Street will do well. Because there's a certain number. It's the same way with condos sell, you know, a certain market. So I think there's a market for every type of hotel. As you know, the limited service boutique that you're talking about, the 2.5 to 5 star, you know, forget the number over there. The bigger question is the absorption. You know, I'm happy to hear that you're saying that most of a good number of the people who are going to the Sanctuary rooftop and your other places are the locals. They're not out-of-towners. Because when I've asked this question to my restaurant people on my shows, I said, who are your customers? And when La Bernardine could say that during my lunch, it's 80% New Yorkers, but at dinner, I'm at 40% New Yorkers. I have more out-of-towners.
There's an unstated benefit to that also, Michael, which is that if they're locals, they refer people when they need a hotel room. So it's not like we're welcoming locals only because they're locals to the exclusion of these tourists. Everybody has someone who's coming to town and, you know, has spaces at a premium in Manhattan.
Now, what's very interesting also, and I think I read it somewhere, was that Times Square, which both of you have properties in, was a neighborhood that people didn't want to be at. Okay, today it's the best neighborhood for the hotel
Certainly for
business.
hotels,
Yeah, nobody, no, it's very true.
Right.
Nobody wanted to be in Times Square. Times Square was sort of a dirty word. I remember when I started the Ameritania in 1990, we were sort of at the edge of Times Square, and we didn't want to say we were in Times Square because it was a bad word. And today, everybody wants to be in Times Square. So a lot of.
I mean, Steve Woodcock was with me a couple weeks ago on my other show, and he was saying to me, you know, I'm going to contract, I'm buying this property at 701 7th Avenue. He says, and we're building retail down on the bottom. We're going to build a luxury hotel over there, and, you know, there's a need. Harry Gross is building the tallest hotel, you know, the two hotels on 54th Street, and right next to him is Joe Moynihan and Starwood Capital, who's building over there. And, you know, then on 57th Street you have the Q that's opening up at the old Buckingham, and then right next door. And, you know, my good friends, the Cormans from AKA Hotel, said that they'd love to open up 5 more hotels.
Right, and we're doing another 100 rooms on top of the Ameritani because they're building the 65-story Marriott on 54th Street. So there is room. I think that I think the recession actually helped, and oddly enough, the New York economy as far as hotels are concerned, because what's happened is the euro is very strong, so you're getting a lot of Europeans coming in there. The Americans don't want to go to Europe because the dollar is very weak. So if they go anywhere, all over the country, everybody comes to New York.
The interesting comment on the travelers, and you may have seen it, is a lot of people have said to me, because I've said, you know, Spain and Greece have had difficulties, they have been replaced, and you would say, because I know you do a lot of marketing to Asia, there's been a lot of Asians travelers and visitors. Correct?
Asian and Brazilian.
And Brazilian. Yes. Brazilian is very big. Brazilians actually outnumber in Florida now. It used to be all the French Canadians used to buy more property than anybody else. The Brazilians have outnumbered them now, and the Brazilians are very, very strong. The legislature is looking to change the regulations for them not needing a visa to come to the United States, so that more of them can come here.
Brazilians?
Brazilians, yes.
I'm seeing a very, very strong flow of people from Northern Europe. Everything from Germans, all the Scandinavian countries, Swedes, Norwegians, Danish people. In my hotel, every night, there are a lot of people from Northern Europe. I think their economies are very much intact compared to Southern Europe. So that's, you know, what I'm seeing.
Let's go to the suburbs. Have you ever thought of opening up in other boroughs?
Well, I think I've mentioned to you in the last time around that we did one by Islip. And
right, I remember. And then you sold it.
Brennan's,
yes, and
Brennan's
he
Bank
financed That's right.
construction. We sold it to Blackstone. And I'm glad we did, because, you know, you just don't have the concentration that.
So you need the that's your management is here, your bodies are over here.
Yeah, and I think, as Hank alluded to it earlier on, you know, those are the parts that get hit. And, you know, we all talk about when's the shoe going to drop, and 13,000 rooms it's not a made-up number. I'm talking from PwC's report. And if there's a macro event, whatever that is, and those are the guys that are going to get hit first and foremost.
You know, let's talk. You know, you talk about macro events. You know, I still remember 2007 when I met Ian. I think it was, and Happy Days Were Here Again. Anything was selling for any type of price, and then the world. 2008, the world ended, and I still remember September, October, Lehman. You know, it started in March with Bear, then it went to Lehman, and went over there. Fine, we have the presidential election completed. We have a mayoral election. We have an economic, you know, we're not in the greatest economy today. You know, there are questions, you know, over there are questions on taxes, you know, certain people, capital gains laws, other situations. I mean, you know, you're all in business to make money and to operate, but this has an effect, and also on you to lend. Don't you get a little cautious with the things that have happened, especially hurricanes and other things?
We absolutely do. I mean, but one of the things that we are very careful about is who we choose as our borrowers. sponsorship is first and foremost in anything that I look
So
at.
how do you know? Okay, let's talk about that. Your borrowers. He's been in business many years. He's been in business a similar amount of years. I'm not aging them, but keeping them in their age. Him? Okay. No.
He really likes you, Ian.
I do like him. That's the point.
Great property.
But here's the question. It's difficult. And I don't want to say it's like a gambler, but when you're going into a hotel, and a lot of people, Ian had a great plan, lots of money in the deal, a lot of equity. There have been a lot of people who thought it's easy, and you know this, Vijay. People think, I want to be a hotel. It's like I want to be a restaurant, okay? Somebody once said to me, many years ago, I had a piece of a racehorse. And when we took the picture, when the horse won the first race, that was the only time he ever won, okay, there was no room for the picture of the horse because there were more investors. Everybody wants to say, I own a piece of this restaurant. I own a piece of the hotel.
Right, it's like a status symbol. It's everybody that had money that didn't want to be, that had money, they just wanted to be a partner in a hotel and say, that's my hotel, is a status symbol. It's like owning, like today's status symbol is owning a baseball team or a basketball team or something.
Or a hotel.
Or a hotel.
But I mean, you can't. You need somebody. Somebody said, "Fine, I need an operator. You need a Hank. You need a Vijay. These guys operate their own hotel." I mean, but I still remember in 2006, and it may happen again. It may not be. It's definitely not going to happen with M&T Bank. But there are people believing that here's a garage spot, where a garage used to be, and I'm going to put a 40-foot wide hotel, and it's going to do well.
Well, apropos of that, Michael, look, even in this so-called good times, there have been hotel defaults. I mean, the CMBS defaults, there have been, the hotels that, you mentioned 5 and 5.5 stars, and one not too far from here, 2 blocks. I don't know if you want to mention the name, but pretty obviously which one it is. It was a troubled sale, and it just went through, I think, at some level. And there are a bunch of hotels that really, somebody came in and so-so was not interested, and they picked it up at, 40 cents on the dollar. I'm just talking 12 months, 6 months ago.
So here's the question. The hotel opened up.
Yes.
Your friend and a colleague in business, Richard Bourne, has gone to the pods, and he's thinking of opening up more pods. Do you think that New York City can have a new change? Can we have more pod or limited service, truly limited service,
I think
real small?
Yeah, I think the best operator in my vision is Citizen M from London and from the Netherlands, and they're going to open on 48th between Broadway and 8th Avenue. The rooms are 8 feet wide. They're a king-size bed, the width of the room with a bolster on each end. And I just stayed at the one in London to check it out. So on a 50-foot piece of land, they can get 6 rooms in the front and 6 rooms in the back. And they're done
So what's the room, 110
The room
feet?
is 160 square feet, but it feels like you're on a cruise ship. 160 feet on a cruise ship means you have one of the biggest rooms. 160 feet in a hotel room, you have one of the smallest rooms.
They have windows in each room?
Every room has a window. The
But
window
wait,
is 8 feet.
if you remember
Full 8 feet, it's
the
full
Hudson
glass.
Hotel, when
Those rooms were small.
Okay, those rooms were small, and as I said once
expensive coffins.
right, to Sam Chang, right next to my studio over here, Hotel 373. When I walked in there once, and I said, "Where is the closet?" and Sam said, "Hook." And I said, "What happens if you're a little fat to get into the bathroom?"
We don't have closets either. We're a gay-oriented hotel. We don't have closets.
So where?
To make a poetic point.
So what happens?
Okay, listen, let's be serious. We're all in this business. We understand our businesses. But Michael, really, you're not selling square footage. Size does not matter. You're selling an experience. You're selling New York City. And if you create the right vibe in your boutique hotel, you're selling an experience and a lifestyle and a sense of community that people want to be part of. And they really don't care about square footage, at least in what I'm doing.
It's the common areas that make a difference. It's really the experience. It's the common areas. Look, if I've got a place similar uptown, some young backpackers coming into New York.
But that's a different market. It's a different. You're accommodating the hostel or crowd.
Well, it's a little bit above.
But what I'm saying is that there's a different thing. Somebody going to the hotel. The hotel has been
160 square feet. They're 80-something%.
But people that book there know what they're booking.
Right.
They're not expecting any more than that, and that's what it is.
Here's the big question that people always say: how do you get your business? How do they find out about the Impulsive group? How do they find out about Apple Corps? You, I know, because you've had more publicity than anything else. I'm not even going to say. And you just the mazel tov on being in the top 100 food or hotels. How do they find out about your hotel?
Well, years ago, you used to have good salespeople to promote you and have the connections with the tour operators. Today, it's just like internet related. Everything is internet. Having the right search engines and getting the right keywords in there. That's
Google words. And
Google, yeah, that's what does it today.
100%. I mean, look, you mentioned Times Square, and I too remember in the 90s how it was a no-go area, very clearly 7th Avenue. But guess what? We have the hotel at Times Square. Brennan knows the story really well. The name of the hotel, as Ian was asking me before the show, is the Hotel at Times Square. Right. So you put 3 words into Google, Hotel Times Square. We've been #1 since 2008. #1 on the first page. So I don't know how long it'll stay there, but that's
the name.
So exactly apropos Hank's
and
answer.
what about, I noticed last week that I still remember when my son talked to me about Kayak. 5 years ago, Kayak started. They were sold by the Priceline for $1.8 billion. And someone was talking about Priceline used to have an approach that, you had a bid for rooms. Now you can get rooms the same day at a lower price. How do you, as hotel operators, look at these Expedia?
Well, they're a threat. I mean, look, while we're talking all hunky-dory stuff, I mean, there are a couple of things that are underfoot in the distribution model. One is Hotel Tonight. It's a great app. If I were a consumer, I'd say I'd go to it all the time, and I do when I'm traveling. I too go to Europe now and then, and you get fantastic deals. Right here in the city in October, which has traditionally been one of our best months, there have been hotels like, I'll name one, the Empire, which generally goes for $800 and plus. We're selling rooms at $250.
Because of this program called what?
Hotel Tonight. So what it does is it'll load a select number of hotels into their engine. And at 12 noon of that day, you won't get rates before that. You'll get a certain number of rooms in these hotels at a significant discount. Not always, but most times. In October, I know many of them were selling rooms. Brennan and I had this conversation offline separately about this. And these are name brand big hotels that have been selling rooms 400, 500. Algonquin has been on it for $500 less than their rack rate. So that's one. Number two is a new dynamic called Tingo. What Tingo does is owned by TripAdvisor, by the way. That's what brought this thought to my mind. You mentioned, Expedia. Tingo does is, let's say Hank has got a booking in Paris and he's booked it at, say, €400. And Tingo will search for him till the time he gets there. Anytime the rate drops below 400, it'll cancel that room, rebook it for him. He doesn't have to do anything. And guess what? That's the
Tingo here?
Tingo, oh yeah, it's very much.
Worldwide.
It's just coming on, yeah. So
That's going to be dangerous.
Now, Tingo, how does Tingo make money?
well,
They get
make money
commission.
off. Yeah.
They get a commission.
All of them do. In
Mercedes
other words,
maybe.
I think that most hoteliers really don't want to deal with the Expedias and with
Yeah.
the hotels.com because they just kill you with the high commissions.
Yes.
So you use that for fill-in, and the same thing for fill-in with last-minute stuff. If you don't think you're going to sell those rooms that night, you just go out there and do that. Another big attraction also is TripAdvisor. People just like religiously now go on to TripAdvisor.
TripAdvisor, in my opinion, could make or break somebody because it's worse than Zagat's, because if somebody really has a problem, and these comments are there.
Yeah,
I mean, to be very honest, I write a lot. I have articles. I do not allow my articles to have blog comments because certain people, just want to be vicious,
Right.
and this can have an effect on your future.
But TripAdvisor has become like a Bible. I mean, people actually look at TripAdvisors, look at it, because we ask a lot of people, how did you hear of us or something like that. They all look at TripAdvisor, and we've been lucky. There's 432 hotels in New York. We started out at 300 and something. We're down to like number 28 on TripAdvisor now, so it makes a big difference.
I wish we had a little more time to talk, but 30 minutes have gone. I promise in 2013 I'll invite everyone back, even Ian. Okay.
It's only my third time this month.
Okay. I'd like to thank Brennan, Hank, Ian, and Vijay, and I'll see you next week.